Welcome back to Meet Me on the 50. We are here for another illustrious, exclusive interview. And you see the cameras, you see the lights. We're doing a little different this time, as we should. You see the title of this video, you see the thumbnail, you see none other than the legendary Mr. Melvin N. Miles Jr. Welcome to the show, sir.
Well, thank you, Eddie. I'm very proud to be here, with you. I'm not sure legendary is appropriate yet, but I appreciate it. But I'm excited to be here with you to talk to you about about Morgan, about being here as a band director for associated with the band for quite some time.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long time coming. You know, this sit down means a lot to me. You know, we spoke long ago. You know, and it's been far too long in my opinion. So
well, I agree with that, and I'm glad that we're getting together.
Yes, sir. So I would love to just sit down and talk to you about just from the beginning of Mr. Miles' journey all the way to from 2021.
Well, you're going to need a 30 for 30 to do that. I'm raised in Baltimore. I'm from Baltimore. My parents are from Baltimore. My grandparents are from Baltimore. I went to public schools. I started trumpet when I was about 8 years old at a school called Coppin Elementary School, not too far from where I lived in West Baltimore. I grew up in West Baltimore. And then I went to a school called Calvin Junior High School. My elementary school teacher was a woman named Miss Ruby Gill. My junior high school teacher was Chester Roulette. My high school teacher, at least the last part of my high school, was a gentleman named Thomas Delane, who became Dr. Thomas Delane, who was here at Morgan for a while as the band director. And I spent some time with, before Delane came to Douglas, I spent a little bit of time with a woman conductor named Clara Coleman. But Tom Delane, Chester Roulette, and had a profound effect on my life musically. I always credit Miss Gill with really starting me well. She started me reading music well, and she started me on trumpet very well. And so I'm very grateful for the education I had. It's just a plain old public school education.
Yeah.
And I later on went to Delaware State with Dr. Rep Stone. Rep Stone, again, a very celebrated musician, a Morgan grad. He taught, but he ended up latter part of his year in the jazz studies department at Howard University. Rep Stone, he introduced me to jazz and taught me a lot of theory. I used to ride back and forth from Dover, Delaware to Baltimore because Rep Stone lived right around the corner on Cold Spring Lane from Morgan. And so he would pick me up on the weekends, or I'd come back for the weekends because I played in the group.
Yeah.
But while I rode with him in the car, at the time he was studying theory and composition at Catholic University, and so I got immense theory lessons and composition lessons while riding back and forth for the hour and a half. So I've been very fortunate to be in the midst of some people who gave me a lot of information, helped me with a lot of knowledge, and helped me to become the kind of musician that I always hope to be and hope to continue to be, and give me enough information and enough guidance, as well as really good people so that I can pass along to everyone else information.
Yeah, absolutely. So you had an early start playing trumpet. You were like 8 years old.
8 years old, yeah.
8 years old.
Yeah.
That's wild. You know, my daughter's 3, and she buzzed a decent C actually
There
last week. A C. I mean, I had a tune and everything, so I know she may be on the right track with on that. It was on a mellophone, matter of fact. So let me read some names off to you real quick. Arthur Grant, Leroy Fralin, Johnny Foreman, Greg Holmes, James Lindsay, Anton Scott, and Reginald Wright. Who are these gentlemen I just named?
The gentlemen you just named are part of a group. They were members of my group, Sound Experience. The Sound Experience was a band. And we were a band because we were connected to a group before that. We're called the Whatnots, WHATNAUTS, Whatnots. And the Whatnots were a singing group that that went on to make records, and we were the band. It was always the Whatnots band and singers. And Whatnots got a record deal, and the band was left without the record deal. And so we became the Sound Experience, and of course we went on to develop and become have our own record deals and do some very nice things and some very nice performances and playing in some very key places. But Johnny Foreman, he's a Morgan grad. He went to Morgan and will be retiring from the Gilman School. He's been there as an athletic coach as well as the diversity, in charge of the diversity department. Anton Scott, he's a Coppin State graduate. He went on to, he's still playing guitar. He's a great guitar player. And he went on to teach special ed. He taught special ed for a number of years. The Frailing brothers, they were twins. I think they're still moving around. They're still singing, and they're still singing in churches and places of that nature. Lindsay became again a Morgan grad, saxophone player. He graduated from here with a music degree. He taught music in public schools. He became a public school principal. He became an administrator in public school. He now is in charge of student teachers at UMBC. Okay. So I don't know. It was a good group of people. Reginald Wright went on to work for Microsoft and doing some technical work with them and coding and stuff for them. Wow. A very fine trumpet player. Rodney Parks was a drummer at that time, and Everett Harris was a bass player, as well as there was another person with Greg. Greg Holmes went on to become a teacher, saxophone. He's a Coppin grad. Albert Holmes, his brother, played saxophone, who was a Morgan grad, and he went on to do some things. And so anyway, it was a great group of people, and we played a lot of music in a lot of places, doing a lot of things, and just had a great time.
What I want to do is I want to cut to one of your cuts. It was Your Love Belongs to Me.
Oh, Your Love.
Yeah, so I want to cut to that. I want the viewers to, yeah, you hear? So go ahead, check it out. When we come back, we're going to get more into, just more of the life story of Mr. Melvin and Miles. Check it out. That was Your Love Belongs to Me by the Sound Experience. But Mr. Miles, y'all were about 20 years old when you founded that group? This is 1970.
No, we founded Sound Experience about 1970.
Yeah.
About 1970, because we were playing in the Whatnots. I think I went to college in '68, so I was in Delaware '68. So around '69, we began to form the group. Yeah, and we went on to move on from there. Yeah, the dates kind of come together, but we were definitely a '70s group.
I was reading, maybe it might have been a misquote, but were all the members in the band here at Morgan State?
Yeah, we rehearsed here.
Okay.
We rehearsed here,
they
but
weren't all students,
no, Reginald Wright was in the band here. Johnny Foreman was in the band here. James Lindsay was in the band here. Mm-hmm. I was in the band here. Mm-hmm. Greg Holmes went to Coppin. Mm-hmm. Albert Holmes, when he was in school here, he was in the band here. So yeah, most of us went to Morgan and we were in the band. But Johnny, Lindsay, Rick, and myself, we were in the band at the same time.
Gotcha. So we talked a little bit about this before the camera started rolling, but what do you think of the industry now, music industry, compared to that era of your life, 2021 versus 1970?
Well, what I think now is there's easier access to putting together a project. I still think it takes the same amount of energy to get a project moving forward, but sometimes projects are much easier in your hand. For instance, back then, if you wanted a project, you really had to go in the studio, you had to record it, you had to get it pressed, it had to be a record, then you could send it out. Now you can kind of do everything digitally, and you can put it on Spotify. You can make a deal with iTunes. You can make a deal with Spotify. You can make a deal with people and kind of just have your stuff out. And you can put your stuff out now to the public and get feedback about what it is, what they like and what they don't like. So I think it's a tad bit easier to put together a project and be able to present it to the public. But at the same time, when you can do that, that means there's more people in the market. So that's more things you have to get through in order to get to it. So just for sheer numbers, let's say in the 70s, there may have been 100 people. Now to do that now, you may be trying to get something out among 2,000 people. I mean, just to use loose numbers, but it's just so many more people, that can put out stuff. I mean, instantly.
Not to cut you off. I think also what I like about now is that you don't need a label, so to speak. You can go out on Instagram, YouTube, make your own, push and just get out there. So,
Yes, and you can get a brand and get a following, and so when record companies look at you now, they want to know, what's your brand? What's your following? What's your Instagram? What kind of things you got going on already? Because now, before it was like them making you a star. They kind of want you to come in kind of already
no A&R. You got to already be polished. Let's go.
Time to go.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about the music side. There was a movie, 2 movies, matter of fact, Diner and Avalon, directed by Barry Levinson. It says that you have a few credits for composing in those, and also performances in those movies as well as compositions. Can you corroborate that story or that?
Well, I did 2 movies with Barry Levinson. Okay. This started because I have a friend named Rod Armstrong. Rod Armstrong, who was an agent and a very dear friend of mine. He had a talent agent. We were working he had a group called the Soft Tones. The Soft Tones is a very nice regional group, made a lot of hits, had a lot of things going on. And Rod and Barry Levinson knew each other as childhood friends. And Barry Levinson, when he came to town, he wanted to shoot, particularly with, that's the first piece, Diner. He wanted the shoe-rock group. He knew Rod had Soft Tones. I was working with the Soft Tones at the time, doing arranging and stuff. So I got kind of benefited from the fact that we were working on projects together. And Barry Levinson, so we did a couple really neat things for the movies. Some of it made it, some of it didn't make it. That's how the movies go. And we were working on a music for a scene, and he just turned around and looked at me one day and said, like, how would you like to be in the movies? And I said, it'd be all right, it'd be fun. And a few days went, but we finished the session. A few days went by, and he called me and said, hey, how would you, I'm serious about you being in the movie. I said, okay. And so I went down for 3 days. We shot a movie, and we shot a scene. And when it was done, they called me up and said, hey, you are in the movie. And so it was a lot of fun. And then when he came back to Baltimore again, he got in touch with me because he wanted me to be in that movie, and we worked on the scene. I put the scene together, and I did all the arrangements for those particular scenes. So.
You heard it here first. So what I did was I went on YouTube. You can rent both of those movies.
Yes.
$4.99 a piece. So I did rent. I haven't watched them yet, but I'm gonna put a few clips right here. Hopefully I won't get flagged by YouTube. I'll put maybe a few snippets. That way I don't get. But I want to make sure y'all see Mr. Miles in action. So this is Avalon and Diner. Yeah, right here. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. That was a few snippets right there from Barry Levinson's Diner in Avalon, starring Mr. Melvin and Miles right here. So if you haven't watched that movie, go ahead and download. It's about $4.99. Not download. You can rent it on YouTube for $4.99.
That is so funny, man, because people see it and people like, they'll call me, they'll say like, man, I was just looking at a movie and it looked like a guy looked like you. I said, yeah, it was me. It's funny. We had a good time working on those movies. I had a good time.
So we spoke a little bit about your pre-Morgan days. So let's get a little bit into Morgan State. You know, you arrived, you were on staff as of 1973. Is that correct?
That's exactly right.
Okay, so who was the band director at the time before you took over?
Well, before I took over, the band director was Dr. Thomas Delane. And what needs to be understood is that before Dr. Strider, R.H. Strider was the band director up to about 60-something. I would say early to mid 50s, all the way up to about 60-something, maybe 65, 66, I can't remember exactly. But I know I used to come out here and play with Doc Strider, and I used to play commencement band, and I used to play in the concert band when they had the concert band. And Tom Delane, and after Strider decided he was going to step down from being the band director, and sort of was the chairperson, I think, for a minute or two. They had a lot of people that came through, Michael Marks or Wallace Clark, or a couple other people. But the band director's position was a part-time position. Okay. And so the band director came maybe twice a week, or maybe 3 times a week, I can't remember. I think they came on Tuesday and Thursday. And so Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we were students, we were leading the program at the time. And Tom Delane was the person at that time. Okay. Clarence Falcon was the chairperson of the department, and they were trying to move the department forward in a way to have at least a full-time instrumental person on faculty, because at that time there was not a full-time instrumental person on faculty. I think there might have been, William Haycock was the string person at the time, but he wasn't winds and percussion. And they did a search, and I'm not sure whether they didn't get any takers or what was it, I know they did a search because I worked for Dr. Falcon in the chairperson's office. And at that time, I also did things for the band. I did the requisitions, I did all the kinds of things. And plus I wrote a few arrangements and I kind of covered rehearsals. Myself, as well as at the time, there was a gentleman here, Lewis. I'm trying to think of his name will come to me in a minute. But he was a drum major, so he did some work and I did some work, and we kind of led the band. And I worked in the chairperson's office, and he called me one day and asked me did I wanted the job, and so I had to think about it as always. And at that time, I was beginning to get a job in Baltimore City to teach band and be a band director at a high school at that time. And so I had to decide between the two. At that time, the program, the salary at Morgan was a little higher than the salary in Baltimore City. Mm-hmm. So I went for that. At the time, I'm married. I got 4 kids, and I'm still playing though. I'm still playing. I didn't stop playing for a long time, and I'm still playing. And so I took the job, and it was, and the program was in a position where we were kind of restarting. Yeah. So it was kind of a lateral move. But at the same time, I had a lot to learn as being a college band director.
Absolutely. So we talked a little bit about your transition from gigging and performing and being in movies and everything to being a band director. So did you miss that lifestyle going from? It's so different.
Really, for a while, I did both. For a while, I would travel to Philadelphia and record at night and get back here during the day. Well, rehearsals were more midday at that time. Rehearsals now latter part of the day, but we rehearsed from 3:30 to 6:30. And then you got to remember there was a period when John Neeson came. We shared duties, and so I could kind of slip away. But mostly I would stay, and we would finish rehearsal. We would start at 3 o'clock and end at 6. At that time, and then sometimes we would stay late. But at 6 o'clock I could get on the road and I go to Philly, and I go record, and because we were recording in Philadelphia at Sigma Sound. And then on the weekends or the weekdays or throughout the week, I'd go on the road. I'd fly someplace and do a gig and fly back to Baltimore. So I did all those things, and while I was still doing this. Yeah. So I was literally working around the clock all the time. Yeah. But, when you're 21, 22, 23, you kind of do some things like that, and, it kind of works for you. But at the same time, there are some things that pay a penalty, and sometimes if you have a family, that can make it somewhat difficult for you at that time personally.
And one thing about Morgan Band, like y'all are never not busy. I was reading through some of the things that you've done, since you've been here, but featured several times on Monday Night Football. This year, you had a few of the kids at the Ravens game, right?
Yeah, not this year. No, what we did this year. Yeah, last year we did a Ravens game. Mm-hmm. Sunday night, I think it was Sunday night. This year we just did a commercial for Sunday night.
The drum major was out there. Maybe like 2 other kids was with him. That was the commercial. That's it. That's it.
Night football.
Right. Bermuda. This happens 2 years after I leave the band.
You didn't go to Bermuda?
No, man. Y'all went 2002.
I swore I saw you in the picture, man.
No, this is when Renard was the drum major that year, I believe.
Okay.
But anyway, so 2002, 2003, they go back to Bermuda for the ambassador of Bermuda. Actually, it was a Morgan grad.
Yeah,
so
Nelson was, yes.
Nelson was, right. Mm-hmm. So that was 2003. The band was featured in Chris Rock. Well, Head of State featuring Chris Rock.
Yeah.
How was that experience?
That was a cool experience. It was a real good experience for the students because it was their first time. Well, this group was the first time they were in a movie. A real good experience. It was the Chris Rock. They wanted us from the very beginning, and we could not settle on a date. They kept, every time they would come up with a date, we had something else to do. And to the point that they said, okay, well, we're going to go get somebody else. And then they ended up coming back to us and said, you know what, we've seen everybody else. Yeah. We want y'all. Yeah. So whenever y'all are ready and can shoot the film with us, let us know. Yeah. So we gave them a date that we could actually do it, and then we actually filmed. But it was a good time. We worked out the scene, worked out the music, what we had to play and how we needed to look. The students got to spend the whole day on the set. And if you work on a movie set, you eat all day. Yeah. And so they had food all day. So
what city and state was this filmed in?
It was in Baltimore.
It was here?
Yeah, it was right out. It was. Okay. We filmed that scene at BWI. There's an area there where they have private jets and private planes that come in. That's where we shot it.
Oh,
we shot it
so that was 2003. Then as of 2019, this was Morgan's feature in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Also, they were on the Today Show, so that was a double whammy right there. So they never not busy, man. So, I always ask this question when I talk to band directors, but we talk about just the climate in regards to the support that bands need to function. A lot of bands are struggling. Some bands are struggling more than others. You seem to find ways to find avenues for the band. If you had any advice you would give to directors to help them, pave that way to get more opportunities like that, what would you say to these band directors to?
I really don't know. I really don't know. I for one believe simply this. I think the work that we do, the work that I do for the kids. I do for the students. And when people approach me, it's not about getting any kind of accolades. It's always, this will be a great experience for students. Mm. And I just kind of believe when you put students first, things kind of work out. Yeah. I think I've been extremely fortunate that when we've asked to do stuff or people ask us to do stuff, we've been able to sort of say, well, we can do it if you do this, and they kind of do that in order to get us to do it. We try to, we make sure that when we show up to do what it needs to be done, that we show up to do it in the fashion of what it is that they want. And so that gives good word of mouth because people feel like we're a good group to work with. We preach flexibility, that we might have an idea, something that's going to go, but when we get there, it may completely be different. And we try to keep contingencies all the time that we can adjust and change. And I think when we work with people, they like that. I mean, when we did the Today Show, we were only supposed to do just a very small spot, and they kept saying, "Well, can you do this?" And they said, "Yeah, we can do that." He said, "Can you do this?" And they said, "Yeah, we can do that." And we put enough emphasis in a lot of things so that we can do as many different things as possible. So they said, "Can you play a march?" And we said, "Yeah, let's play Americans Way." "Can we do another march?" "Yes, let's do the Thunderer." Right. You know, "Can you do what you have patriotic? We have America the Beautiful. We can do that." So we, so we keep it diverse, and we try to keep as much of that stuff in front of us, so then so when it's time to utilize it, we can, and we can do it, and we can sort of say, "Yeah, we can do that." Yeah. And so people tend to like that. I've been extremely lucky, I think, that I've had great students. And I mean, really, hands down. People ask me all the time, what's the secret to success? I have great students. We work real hard to vet students who want to come here and who want to be a part of what it is that we do. And 95% of the time, we're spot on. We get, everybody that we have, they buy into what it is that we do. So that makes it a lot easier to work on stuff. We've been very fortunate that we've had presidents and provosts and at different times. For instance, when John was here, we had a vice president that supported us. Later on, Dr. Richardson supported us. The dean supported us. And right now we have a president that really figures out ways to help us and get in what we want to do. And at the same time, I work on not being greedy, not keep going, say, well, I want more of this, I want more of that. Yeah. I just kind of pace it along so that when I knock on the door, they want to try to do something. And I try to set it up in a way that when they look at it, it's something that they like to see happen also. Yeah. And so it just kind of works out, you know.
I think one thing, I don't think you mentioned it, but I actually saw Morgan State for the first time at Allentown. It's a showcase that Morgan goes to every year, right? Yeah. And I think just your way of thinking outside the box. You don't follow what other bands are doing. You say, this is the way I want to move my band, and it's always been that way. I think it's kind of what sets you apart because you think that way.
Well, yeah, I've always wanted to be. I wanted to be Morgan, and I don't want to be. I want to be like. I want people to recognize what we do, but I want it to be different than what everybody else is doing in lots of different ways. And yeah. I've set myself to the point where I wanted to be outside the box, sort of. And I'm outside the box, sort of, because of just geographically speaking. There are lots of discussion about black bands, and the majority of them are in the South. And we had a few up this way, myself, Howard, Cheney, Lincoln, Delaware State. We're kind of up in this direction, and so we have to manifest ourselves a little different because we have a different kind of audience. We have different kinds of students that come to us. We are inundated with urban life, and so we have to be able to mold the students in a different kind of way and address some things in a different kind of way. And but the Allentown thing is one of those things that I participated in because I wanted my students to have a different experience. It wasn't so much about the audience having to experience us, whereas I know that some people would go there and say, well, they want to see us. But I wanted my students to have a different experience. I think that we graduate students who become band directors, and they always go to a place where there's going to be a show style band. And I also wanted our students to have a regard for a different kind of band. You know, to see that those bands work just as hard as we do, just in a different way. And so I thought it was really important. So when John Villella and George Parks, we were all at lunch together, and they came up with this idea, and they asked me, "Would you come?" Yeah. And I said, "Sure." And I knew George Parks for a very long time. We were very dear friends, and so I have a lot of friends in this part of the world. So yeah.
And we talked about Allentown. I didn't go into it. Allentown, it's a showcase, but it features a lot of core style bands. Morgan State, what year was this? 96 when I first went. And, you know, I would apply to a lot of different schools back then. 97. And I had never even heard Morgan's band up until that point. And yeah, you see what happened, you know. So Morgan State, they definitely blew me away at that showcase. But it's a primarily core style showcase. The audience, it's just, they were on their feet the whole show when Morgan came out. So this is back when Damien was drum major. And he had some energy back then. I remember Damien,
Damien was a good drummer.
Yeah, he did his thing. He actually made me want to wear that hat, man. So shout out to Damien. So we talked a little bit about the culture here on the East Coast versus in the South. Yeah. You know, they seem to have no problems with numbers and just keeping band popularized. You know, what is it that you think we can do on the East Coast to kind of?
Well, I would say that I think that the number one thing would be that if we had more schools with more bands, that would help. Mm-hmm. There are far few schools, public schools, that have bands, and far and few public schools that have bands that do what we do. And so that's an issue. For instance, I would say more than 50% of our band who come from public schools, that they've been in a band and they don't do what we do. And so if you go to Florida, and just about every black school, public school, may have a band, and the band may be 100 people. You know, where we might find a band here, it'd be like 40 people. You know, and just take Baltimore. You know, I think there may be 3 high schools out of the 28 or 29 high schools with a band. And so, but just think if every one of those 28 high schools had 100 or more people in their band, then we would, you know, just by default, if we had 28 schools and they all had 100 people in the band, and we got 2 people every year from 28 schools, that would make a difference in numbers. And so that's one of the things. The other thing is, though, when you recruit, the pattern I always kind of feel that I've noticed, that people who are north go south. For instance, we get kids from New York because they're coming south. They very rarely go north, they come south. And so people in Maryland, they go south. People in Virginia, they go south. If you go in the middle of the country, they go right down the river. When we were in Chicago, just about every kid we saw had a Jackson State jacket on or something. And they go right down the river. Or they go around the river to Tennessee State, or they go down the river to Alabama. They go right down the river. So my point is just, some of it's just geography. Some of it is the kind of people that we graduate. So what we try to do here in this part of the world is try to have enough so that we can support regionally what it is that we do, and we're hoping that we can get enough scholarship money to convince a kid that's in Alabama to come all the way up here. Because when I talk to a student down there, once in a while you'll find maybe a student in Atlanta who may be adventurous, but a lot of times when I talk to students, it's like, way up there? Way up there? You know, I'm not going all the way. You know, and they may come to a place like Howard, which is it's a national school, but, you know, it's going to be very rare you're going to find a kid that leave Jackson, Mississippi to go play at Lincoln University in Pennsylvania. You know, the schools in Jersey and the schools, the schools in Jersey, the schools in New York, the schools in Pennsylvania, they don't have the type of band that we have. And so some of the kids are reluctant to do it. And the students that come, they say, well, I've never marched like that. And so we spend time trying to get them to understand, pick your feet up instead of rolling the heel. So and we also try to take advantage of some of the things that they already know. Yeah. So it's kind of a hybrid kind of thing.
So a lot of the inner cities, most of the inner cities, I guess nowadays, are dealing with a lot of gentrification. Now with that, obviously most of the band programs, I can only speak more so for DC because I'm more familiar with that area, but Eastern, Ballou are probably the two main ones that's still thriving, So I guess with that going on, that's the inevitable. But how do you navigate, I guess, that kind of circumstance and still try to keep band culture afloat? Show style band culture mainly, but that's my question.
Well, the key to it is you kind of recruit the students to go to your school, and then you have to train them how to do what it is that you do. You try to identify. What we do is we try to identify the places where they have the students and try to get those students. But so if you got Eastern and Ballou, what's the other school?
There's a few others.
You got Dunbar, you got Eastern, you got Ballou. Here in Baltimore, you have Weston, maybe Poly, Milford Mill, and Baltimore City College. So you're talking about maybe 6 schools. In Prince George's County, you may have schools like Northwestern and
Largo's doing okay.
And Oxon Hill. That's the school I'm trying to think of. Largo's. But you may be talking about 10 schools over a widespread amount of geographical space, and you're in an area where they got choices, man. They can. I mean, if you're in Baltimore, you're a bus ride away from major schools. I mean, if you're a musician, down the street from Peabody, or you can go to Hopkins, or you can go to Towson, or you can. So there's lots of places you can go. So what we do is we just try to find the kids and vet the kids, and kind of have a program that we hope that's attractive. Hopefully that we have enough support financially to support what it is they want to do. The number one thing that we try to do at Morgan is sell you on the school. We say, come to our campus, come to our school.
You won't be disappointed.
You won't be right. And once we kind of get them here, and we got a good band, then we kind of get them. But what we don't do is we don't try to compete with anything else. We just try to bring them here and show them our culture and show them what it is that we do. And like I said, 95% of them buy into what it is that we do, and so therefore we're successful. And we're hoping, again, to continue to maybe showcase it more, but we can't always showcase it because everybody's not into opening up their doors to allow showcasing to happen in the way that it does in some other ways, in other places.
So you've had a long career, Mr. Miles. This is going on year 48. Yeah. 48. Yeah. How many more years you think you got left in you?
One more.
One more year?
Right now I'm looking to finish up in June 2022.
What does that mean, finish up? I mean, you can't hang it up like that, can you?
Well, I'm looking to retire.
Okay.
And I'm looking to retire. It's not quite finalized yet, but we're talking about it and looking at it. I'm hoping that we're ready to put it in a way that we can slide somebody or begin to put somebody in here before I leave. And if I have to, excuse me, if I have to hang out a little longer just to help it go along, I'm willing to do that. I just think that it's time. I just think that you can sometimes stay at the dance too long. Sometimes I feel like I stayed at the dance too long. But I think that after the pandemic, I think I just learned a few more things about myself that I'd like to spend some time and spend my time staying healthy and spend some more time with my family. I love this job. It's the only job I really have had besides playing, you know. So I've been lucky to have a job that I could get up to every day and enjoy doing, and could do it as long as I've done it. And for the most part, people have appreciated the work that has been done. And probably the biggest thing for me is that hopefully I've made some kind of contribution to other people's lives. I know that other people have made a contribution to my life. When I see you or I see other students who have grown up and moved on and doing things and still carry some of the things that we learned that we learned in band, then I'm okay, you know. But I just think that there's a time that you just kind of got to stop and kind of let somebody else do it. I think fresh legs, fresh body, new body will give it a shot that I think that it needs and can have. And I think with a new person comes new stuff, new things, and you know, and a willingness from people to do some things that that weren't present while I was here, and I think that they're now ready to do those things. I don't think that they were ready to do those things before, but I think it's becoming evidence to the school. I think it's becoming evidence to everybody around that if you want this in a particular way, then you have to do these things. And I really think that the band, as well as the university, as it is growing, I think the band is right at that point where the next step is, if we can hand this to the right person, I think the president and everybody on the campus is ready for it to be the next thing. And I predict that, you know, as I will tell anybody that follows me, if all you can do is what I've done, then you ain't done nothing. Yeah. That you need to do this thing in a way that it's bigger, better, faster than what it was when I was here. I think that I've maintained it over a number of years. We have 6 ensembles here. That's going to be, and I do them all. And
he does.
and I do them all. And we keep them all at a very high quality level. We are competitive with everybody and everything we do. Our wind ensembles are good. Our students that graduate from here that they play very good. We've gone places and we've gotten all the accolades for the things that we do with our wind ensemble. We got accolades for the things that we do with our jazz ensemble. Our pep band is to none. It's a really good group. Our marching band is good. I mean, you know, people can say various things about it, but most people don't say it's really terrible. You know, they think it's a pretty good group, and I think we're a pretty good group. Yeah. So, you know, and it's been pretty much a one-man show. I've been extremely fortunate that I've had some people that have been with me: Carl Stewart, Streets Byers, Angie Pope, you know, Nat Tremaine Davis has been with me. Damien's been with me for a while. Now, you know, Morgan and Mia and Pam. You know, I mean, it's just been a group of people who've been with me for 20 some odd years. And basically they've been volunteers, and they work like it's a 40-hour-a-week job, like they're getting paid millions of dollars for it. So, you know, yeah. I've been blessed and been lucky, and the program's been blessed and been lucky. Now it's time for it to do it in a different way.
Well, you mentioned all those names, and I think that kind of speaks to your point about just you poured into so many people. You know, I think when people see the passion in you, they want to work just as hard as you, or try to anyway. You know, and you know, back in 98, you know, you saw something in me that I didn't see in myself at the time, and I think you have a knack for seeing qualities in certain people that they may not see in themselves. I think I know I didn't understand, like as a high school kid, I would just be watching band and I'd just go home and plug a VHS into the thing and VHS. Yeah, I don't know what that is. But I'd be watching these tapes and then it all clicked when I got here. You know, I said, this is a group of people that understand, like they love band like I love band. So I want to say, yeah, I know we wouldn't be having this conversation. I wouldn't have taken band as far as I've taken it, like personally, had it not been for you.
Well, I appreciate that. You know, I appreciate that. It's the buy-in. I appreciate that. I appreciate that but that's all I am. I'm the guidance for it. I'm the coach for it. I'm the guy that when you come to me and you say, I like band, I'm saying, okay, let's go. Yeah. And let's take it as far as you can go. And again, you know, it's your love for band, your experience with the band, and what you poured into it, and the things that you felt about it, the feelings that you had when you were here, that you continue to do some of the things you do in terms of talking to band directors and talking to different bands and filming bands and all those things. So I just think that, you know, that comes from hopefully your level of participation.
Well, I think I haven't mentioned this. I've never spoken on this, but it keeps me engaged in a way, I guess, as much as I can. You know, I told you I chased dollars most of my life. I've chased money, you know, and we spoke about this before the camera started rolling. And you know, one of my biggest regrets is not finishing my music education degree and getting in that classroom, and getting on that podium, man, because I see it and
you know, teaching and moving forward and doing some things that you want to do, you know, education doesn't stop. You know, you can wait another 10 years, and when you say, you know, I think I'll go back to school and get a music degree and go in a room and teach some people. And you know, whether you teach some people on a high school level or whether you decide to teach some people on an elementary school level, you know, if that's something you want to do, it's something you learn to do, just because time passes you and you get involved in something else does not mean that you don't have time in your life to do it. You know, my oldest daughter wanted a degree and she went online and got a degree. I mean, all her life that's what she wanted, and she, you know, lots of things caused her not to be able to finish, but then she finally finished. And I'll just say to you, if that's something you want to do later on, it doesn't hurt. You can still go to school when you're 50 and take classes. I mean,
Morgan online music education program?
Not yet. Not yet. Not yet. But you know, you have a lot of information already. If you decided to do it, there's certain things there's certain aspects of what you can do online and get the credits for, and then if you decide to go to a brick and mortar to finish up some stuff, you can transfer stuff in. So there are lots of ways now to do that. Before, you could only come to a brick and mortar. But now there's a whole patchwork ways of doing some stuff if it's something you want to do. And you don't have to do it now. You can do it 5 years from now when it might be even easier access. So you don't have to do it now.
I'll think on that, Mr. Miles. I think we'll put some consideration into that. I think I've also got a lot of gratification and just good feelings from just being able to talk to band directors, and just a lot of them don't have voices. They can't speak out to the administration, the ones that aren't funding them the way they should be funded. A lot of things going on with just, and I like the fact that some directors feel like they can confide in me and kind of help put that message out there. Like, we need support. How can you help? Meet me on the 50. And I want to help with that. I get a lot of gratification from that, because I know I am helping the coaches. Not the way that I wanted to 20 years ago. You know, I wanted to help lead the kids directly, but you know, so
Well, I think what you do is you know, as we've talked about it, and I've had a conversation with you, I think that, you know, having an opportunity to speak to people and for people to be able to say, you know, I'm not getting this and I'm not getting that, and I need some more help in this, I need some more help in that. I think it's great for people to have a platform and a voice to be able to do those things, and for the public to be able to see it. As well as for the administrator to be able to see it, to be able to sort of see it. You know, my guy's really crying for some help. But I will tell you that my president is on top of it. We are constantly talking. He's constantly not just talking to me about things, he's constantly offering things. he's constantly saying, what do you need?
Yeah.
I was reading somewhere where somebody was having trouble with housing the band students, and well, we don't have that problem here. Our band students get housed.
They get what they need.
Yeah, really,
They do.
get housed. This year we were also very fortunate this year to they covered our meals for band camp, which that's something they've never done, but they've always given us a strong reduced rate. I mean, for meals per day. It's an unbelievable rate that they give us for 3 meals a day, and but I'm just sort of saying I think that this university and what it is and as it's been growing, I think it's been giving us what we need, and I think it's now ready to do some more.
Yeah. Mr. Miles right here, man, this has been my pleasure, sir. Thank you for being on the show. Like I said, it's been a long time coming. Yeah. And I want to continue this, man. I do want to continue.
Well, we certainly can. I was going to tell you, it's been a pleasure, man. It's been exciting. I really like the direction you went with this. And
I appreciate hearing that from you.
Yeah,
sir.
I do. I really like the direction you went with this. I'm excited what you're doing, and I'm glad to be able to do this. Really.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. We gonna keep growing with it, and I'm glad I have your support because Morgan's. You don't hear a lot about Morgan. If you don't, you're gonna hear a lot more about Morgan State.
You absolutely will. If you don't know a lot about the university now, you will know a lot more about it. I mean, there's no better time, no greater time to be at Morgan State University than now. I will just tell you that. And on the other side of this pandemic, it's going to be amazing here. It's going to be someplace that you're going to want to be. It's like getting on the ground floor of a major company. That's how wonderful it's going to be here. We got more and more students that want to come here, and we're doing all kinds of things to make sure that they want to come here. Academically, from a research perspective, from the opportunities that students have with internships, as well as things that you can do internally on campus. Again, it's a nice sized campus. It's a pretty campus. There are lots of things to do, lots of opportunities to participate. Very student-oriented, really like to get students engaged in projects, really important projects, where they go around and participate and become a part of it. Some of our students get involved in paid stipends and paid internships and things of that nature. And the same thing happens with the band. The band is a very, very busy group, in front of lots of people all the time, and a very spiritual part of what the university has and what has going in terms of what it is that we do. So, if you're looking here, if you're looking at this and you're thinking about coming to a great school, Morgan State University is a place to come.
There it is. So it's morgan.edu. Now we can email Mr. Miles at
msuband@msuband.org.
Okay.
And our website is www.msuband.org.
And that's all you need. So all the information you just heard, I'll have on the screen. Graduating seniors or just transfers, this may be the band for you right here. So Yeah, this has been Meet Me on the 50 with Mr. Melvin N. Miles Jr.
All right.
That's it. Thanks again, Mr. Miles.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Thank you. That was nice, man. It was really nice.
You made it work.